And welcome to Carquin Carney. I'm James Van Alstel. And a quick point I want to bring up before we start tonight's interview, this episode's interview. This is self-aggrandizement. I realize that, but it bears repeating. Carquin Carney is nominated for Best Music Podcast, and I'm nominated for Best Podcast Host in the Chicago Reader's Best of Chicago 2020 poll. I would appreciate your vote. These things are so weird. I always feel so guilty asking for people's support on these things. It's just, because all these vote mechanisms are they're just designed to generate page views for the host. So, and I always feel guilty, like, come on, friends and strangers, participate in this thing. But I'd love your support. So Chicago Reader, Best of Chicago 2020, Best Podcast Host, Best Podcast, Best Music Podcast. I would appreciate your help. My guest tonight, oh man, is she funny, and she's a wonderful person. Erica Nicole Clark. She is part of the Laugh More virtual comedy series. It's a monthly thing. This coming weekend, it is happening on the 23rd. It is hosted by previous Carquin Carney guest Calvin Evans, also a very funny human being. It's Erica Nicole Clark, Joey Villagomez, Dario Durham, and Jim Flannigan. Erica, thanks for joining us. Thank you. And lovely to see you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you.
Now, comedy is kind of the side hustle. You're a teacher by day.
Yes.
What a weird time to be a teacher right now.
Yes.
Are you doing everything remotely, or are you actually in a classroom?
Oh, we are 100% remote. And like I said, I've been switched with kindergarten. So as anybody knows, even if you're not a teacher, kindergarten is a lot more of like life skills teaching than it is actual, like, so it's very strange to try to teach kids how to like wait their turn, things like that via Zoom, because it's hard to tell kids to be quiet via Zoom.
Right.
It's hard to it's hard to like not have kids shout answers. It's like a lot of things that you normally do in a classroom you cannot do, and they've never been in a classroom before.
Right.
So
and now they're doing it on Zoom. My daughter just started her freshman year of high school, and I'll see her on her Zoom classes. All the kids have their cameras off, which has to be really fucking weird for the teachers. Like, just to look at a bunch of just hope that people are there and paying attention. And it's just these kids. I mean, she just started as a freshman. They're sent into breakout rooms, like they've never met any of these people, and they have to like problem solve together. It is
work
so
together
bizarre.
on something.
But I'm trying to be glass half full as I'm talking to her. I'm like, maybe this is an easy way to start high school. Maybe you kind of get to know people this way without all the hassle of trying to figure out where you're going. This kind of gives you a leg up for when you get back in the building. Mm-hmm. I say that trying to be glass half full, knowing, okay, it's still really weird and awkward.
It is. Because it's like, especially with like me with the kindergarten, it's like they eat like on Zoom. Sometimes they won't get out of the bed, so they're just laying there, and you just see them like with a blanket over their head. It's like sometimes parents are in the background, like having full conversations or working, or it's like it's weird,
And as a comedian, as someone who's used to plying her trade in front of a crowd and the give and take of an audience, I mean, this is just upside down.
Yes. Because like I said, I'm used to like little asshole fourth graders who like talk back, and
they are assholes at that age. They totally are.
Yes. But you can have some fun with them, or like I will explain a concept to my students, and if I can't, like if they don't get it, I can show them a YouTube video, stuff like that. Like, you can't do that now. Yeah, like you said, a lot of kids, not with my class, but I've heard other teachers say, like, kids have no cameras on, no mics. You kind of just, you ask a question, some kids don't answer it, like the older kids, stuff like that. Like, I couldn't deal with that. Like, but I have the opposite problem. They won't shut up, but like, and they're obsessed with the Zoom, like the camera functions, so they'll constantly be muting themselves, unmuting camera, writing in the chat, sharing a screen, like, but yeah, so, but I would love to be in a classroom again, but I do like
Sure.
staying at home all day.
It does. My dog has never had a better time in her life. This is her moment.
Right,
I mean, she truly has never been alone for the past 9, 10 months. She's never
right,
known.
I know.
I'm scared to think of that time when we're able to go back into the general population. Like I'll need to sedate her.
I know.
She'll be beside herself when we
Right, she's gonna be
reintegrate,
angry.
when we reassimilate
She's
into the
gonna be
general.
angry at you.
We're all going to be awkward, right? Like when we come out of
I
this,
know,
like
right.
no one's going to know how to behave around other human beings socially
Right?
and up close anymore. It's just going to be weird for a few months.
I know, but you remember over this summer when it, like, seemed like it was getting back to normal? Like, there was that glimmer of hope, like, you
But
went to a restaurant a couple times and
it,
then
it,
it
it-
just all
yeah, it was a total Peanuts, Lucy taking the football away from Charlie Brown moment.
I know, because I was certain, probably, like, in June, like, I was certain, like, "Oh, I'm gonna go back to work in September," like, definitely. Okay, and then I was like, "Definitely October, definitely November,
I,
okay,
I
definitely January."
I had the same trains of thought, and now I'm at the point where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be last on that list to get the vaccine. Like I have no pre-existing conditions. I'm not.
Right.
I'm in radio. I'm not essential by any stretch of the
Right, so
imagination.
you're not over
Fuck.
65, no,
Yeah,
so
yeah. I'll
right.
be that guy come November. I'll be clearing out my Halloween decorations in time to get my vaccine.
I
So
get you.
this is just where we're at right now. So this virtual comedy series that again, it's a Zanies thing. It's happening on the 23rd. It's interesting. Tickets, general admission, $10, $25 for VIP. What does that mean? What does
You
VIP
know
access give
what?
you?
You would have to ask Zanies. I have no idea. I don't know if that's, like, backstage stuff, like, I do not know what all access you have with the the added $15 charge,
Maybe
so,
there's a meet and greet
yeah,
after the show. People can meet you in a private suit. I don't know. I mean, I,
right.
that's how I would play it. I
Right. There's a breakout room with Erica and you can talk. No, my God, no, that's horrible. I yeah, I saw that and I was confused because then I was like, are they allowing people in the showroom? Like, because I was like, I don't know why. I was just totally confused by the VIP. So I really don't know. Did you watch it last month?
I didn't. I didn't see the New Year's Eve thing that Calvin
Yeah.
did. The New Year's Eve got away from me.
Did you get drunk?
I it was a heck of a night.
All right, I get that. I get you.
So all right, so this is happening on the 23rd. You can buy tickets obviously in advance. That's yeah. Chicago. Chicago is so very much a part of your act. I mean,
Uh-huh.
you pinpoint it down to intersections and locations. It's interesting. I mean, as a Chicago area person, I really appreciate what you do. You've mentioned Wrigleyville. That you do this great bit about going to a lesbian bar, and how revelatory the experience is. And you mentioned Wrigleyville. Wrigleyville is somehow worse than you described in that original act. It keeps getting worse, doesn't it?
It is. It's like I used to it's so funny. When I was like 19 and 20, my whole dream was to live there. Like I was like, oh, it'd be so cool to be like to go outside and get drunk and walk home, and it was like the place that we would like sneak with our fake ID. Like,
Oh my
it's kind of
God.
like Division Street to me.
When I
That's
was
what I
underage,
thought.
we would get drunk.
Yeah, I thought it was the best place in the world.
We'd have our fake IDs and we'd go. The only place that was a sure thing for getting in with a fake ID back then was Exodus, which was a reggae club
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
on the far south end of that drag on Clark Street. Occasionally we could
Yeah.
get into Wild Hare, but Exodus was the place. And we were underage, so we thought it was cool to do shots of rum. That's what we did when we were underage. Like, well, we're at a reggae, they drink rum in Jamaica, so that maybe that's what we should do when we're at Exodus.
Right.
And I just remember like just a bunch of shithead kids from the north suburbs coming in,
Mm-hmm.
and
And like
it was kind of sketchy then too. Like we should
there's
have been
vomit
dead, vomit everywhere. But I mean, back when I was really young and I started going to concerts at the then Cabaret Metro, I mean, Wrigleyville was
Mhm,
had an element of danger to it. It wasn't exactly a place where people
mhm.
should feel great about dropping their kids off, especially pre-cell phone. But now it's just it's just gross. It's just
It is. It's so, but yeah, it's like, I can't even explain it. Like, I used to go to this place. Did you ever go to John Barleycorn?
a couple times, but that was never my
Yes.
choice. That's a place you go on someone's suggestion. That if you're the one making that call, you're an asshole.
Yes. But yeah, John Barleycorn and Mullins and all those places. I don't know. I used to do IO, which is like right there. Do you remember IO, Improv
Of course,
Olympic?
of course.
Yeah, so I used to do that. I started classes like in my late 20s. And so like after every class, everyone would go out to like Wrigleyville. And like I just started like that was my beginning of my hatred to it. Because I kept being like I want to go to a bar and just drink. I don't want to see like two girls fighting with no shoes on and then someone's throwing up. Like I don't want to see a date rape happening. Like I just want to like drink a drink and just talk. Like, yeah, and that's how every like Wrigleyville bar is like, you're like, did I just see a crime? Like I know I think I did. So,
Now, you spent a lot of your childhood in the bucolic north suburb of Lake Forest. I mean, that's about as far detached
yes.
from Wrigley as imaginable.
Yes.
I mean, that was always one of those suburbs. I just assumed I never really ventured too far in there. I just assumed there was like a protective force field keeping everyone under a certain income level out.
Yes, it is weird. I had a lot of friends who I'm still friends with now who are like these it's one of those places. It's just like people are very, very snobby or they're very down. It's a weird thing. Like I have two friends who are probably the wealthiest people I've ever met in my life, but they're like the very like Bill Gates people, like where they drive old cars and you never know. You know what I mean? Like they're very hush hush about their money. And then I have like these super fancy friends who are like, it's just it's a weird, very wealthy, very to themselves town. There's not a lot of Karens there, who all
Can we all agree that the Karen thing is done? Can we move past that?
yes, yeah. So yeah, it's a very quiet town. People keep to themselves a lot. I don't know. It was not bad. I mean, obviously it's a beautiful place to grow up, but yeah, it was not as bad as it probably could have been. But I do realize who I'm related to. So
Well, all right, let's talk about that. In the past couple of years, I've had people like Lily Winwood, Steve Winwood's daughter, Calico Cooper, Alice Cooper's daughter, Ian
ooh,
Zander,
ooh.
Robin Zander of Cheap Trick's son, on this podcast, and all of them kids of famous people. And in each of those cases, their DNA got them attention, got them noticed, got people looking. But once you get that attention, you actually have to deliver beyond that. The name will only
Right.
carry you so far. And you are the daughter of Mr. T.
Uh-huh.
Your last name's not T, which I find strange. And I normally feel weird bringing up famous parentage in interviews, but I mean it's part of your act.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And people are always surprised that Mr. T is your
Yes.
dad.
I think that I don't know. And it's like I've had a million responses to that. And sometimes I've said it in jokes, but it's like I don't know what people I don't think people think he had kids. And then when they think about him having kids, I think that they think I should look different. Like I should have a mohawk and
Of
like a
course.
ripped up shirt.
And the jewelry, the chains.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
tons of jewelry. I don't know what they expect, but I'm not what they expect. So, but it's like, yeah, I used to, when I first started, the only joke I ever had was about my dad. And then I kind of built up stuff, and then sometimes I put it in my act, sometimes I wouldn't. If I do now, I tend to put it at the end of my act. Um, just in case, like, because I've had people be like, well, they just liked you because of who you're related to, or like stuff like that. So I always wanted to kind of like be like, if I didn't say that, or if I did all my jokes and did that at the very end, like I just wanted it just to be an added
Yeah.
bonus, or like, because it's like there's only so many. I can tell a shit stories about my dad, but like I don't want to be just his daughter and
Of
telling
course.
stories, like, yeah. So yeah, but it's definitely like I don't run away from it. Like if someone brings it up, or like, yeah, I'll definitely make jokes about it because it's
And to be
crazy. It's
fair,
weird. My dad had a
you brought it
mohawk.
up. You led me there. That wasn't me. That you.
Yeah, no, I know. I know. Yes, I'm never afraid to bring it up or talk about it. Yeah,
So
no,
here
I'm
you
good
are
with it.
as a kid. You're growing up in Bucolic, Lake Forest. You're growing up with this super famous father. How did you rebel? Did you have a rebellious period, or is stand-up comedy your rebellion?
I think stand-up comedy is. um, it was like in all honesty, I know people think that like growing up, I had like parents who grew up in the 70s. They're kind of cool, weed smoking, drinking. I think people think my dad is like at church 7 days a week. um, but he's a drinker and a smoker and a partier and a have funner. So my parents were actually like cooler than like when I was a teenager, I was lame. Like I was lame. I I didn't do much. I didn't like until I was probably like a senior, and then I would like the only way I would rebel was like skipping school, or like I threw a party when my parents were out of town, stuff like that. But in general, like drinking or smoking, if they caught that, they wouldn't have done anything.
Yeah, it's
So
tough. It's tough when you've got your dad who's hanging out with Hulk Hogan, and you know. By the way, how are you feeling about Uncle Hulk these days?
you know what? I met him. I used to see him obviously a lot when I was a kid. He was always, and it's so weird because I never want to be like, because everyone's like, oh, he's racist or he's an asshole now. But he was always like the nicest person in the world, like the absolute nicest person in the world to me and my older sister. Like, and his wife at the time, like Linda, I think is her name. He was always like really, really nice. Like we would go on vacation with him. So so it's always like it wasn't like they were putting on airs or like a front, like they were actually friends. And so it was funny because I never knew this, but my mom said that they met at the premiere of Rocky 3 because Hulk Hogan's in Rocky,
Yeah,
but
he's
yeah,
Thunderlips.
but they didn't film the same day. So my dad was like, "Oh, I bet he doesn't know who I am." And my mom's like, "I think he does. I think like go over there." So my mom said, they started talking and they became friends. And but yeah, so he was always really nice, and we went out of town with him a lot. So yeah, I always have positive,
Yeah.
positive, and a couple crazy memories with Hulk Hogan.
Oh,
Some crazy, like I was a kid with my sister, and it was after WrestleMania, and my dad and Hulk Hogan were doing a tag team against like Roddy Piper,
yes. This
and
is
I
legendary
so
stuff. This is iconic stuff right here.
I forgot who Roddy Piper's partner was, but
Maybe Paul Orndorff? Could that have been it?
Maybe because Rowdy Ryder Piper broke my dad's rib for real by
No
mistake.
way.
My dad had to go to the emergency, because it's all whatever stunts, but he broke my dad's rib for real. My dad had to go to the emergency room, and when
Wow.
my dad came back from the hospital. Hulk Hogan was so mad, like, I'm gonna fuck him up. I'm gonna fuck him up for you, T. And it was like, oh man, this really big man is really mad. And then Rowdy Piper knocked on the door, our hotel door, to be like, I'm really sorry, T, about what happened. And Hulk Hogan was like, get the fuck out of here. Like, it was like crazy. Like, and I just remember being like, oh my God, because Hulk Hogan's like 6'6",
Oh
6'7".
yeah.
My dad is like 5'9", 5'10". So it was like, you can't really stop Hulk Hogan from
No.
and my dad was trying to be like, oh, calm down, calm down. It was just like, yeah. So
The thing about Hulk, I
yeah,
mean, I
so
remember.
that was some crazy.
Go ahead.
Huh? No,
Oh,
no,
no,
I wasn't saying anything. Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about the size and magnitude of Hulk Hogan. I mean, back when he was ascendant, I mean, even before WrestleMania, when we saw him in the Rocky movie, just the idea of him was so much bigger than him. Just here's this giant of a man with these giant arms. Like he it was like this superhero that you got to glimpse
Right, with
back
the
in the day.
blonde hair and
Oh yeah. And then, pairing him with your dad at that WrestleMania. It was Paul Orndorff, by the way. I did the
yeah.
quick Google.
Did you?
Iconic stuff. So I mean,
Yeah.
you went a decidedly non-show business route. You went into education. At what point did
Mhm.
you decide, yeah, I've got stuff to say and I want to say it in front of a crowd?
I kind of always wanted to do it. Like I knew I like teaching people, and I always like teaching kids. I always wanted to do comedy. I just didn't. Um, it's hard. It seems stupid now, but I just never thought stand-up comedy. I thought like improv or like movies, stuff like getting into it that way. So that's why I started off with improv. Improv was fun until it wasn't anymore. Like the zip zap zop, I was kind of like, and it's really hard to like, collaborate with like 10 other people. So I kind of, on a whim, I just did an open mic once to be kind of like, if I like that. Like to me, stand-up comedy and teaching is like pretty much the same thing. I'm still trying to get them to laugh. I'm still trying to like get them to learn something or like at least enjoy what I'm saying.
Like
And
you know what your act is, but you also have the flexibility to pivot based on the crowd response.
yes, yeah. And so I always like, um, it was always easy for me to do. I kind of always, when I first started, I stuck with stuff that I knew was true that happened to me, and it was
Of
like,
course.
I learned to like kind of uh, whittle those stories down so I could tell the joke quicker and things like that. And then I started taking stuff from work and I started using material from like my friends and things like that. So I kind of just built it from there. So like to me, teaching and stand up was like kind of the same thing
I get
since
that.
yeah. And there's
Well,
so many teachers who are comedians or so many comedians who are teachers.
I can see that. And my perception of stand-up comics, by and large, is these are people whose act, whose humor, timing, everything is born of misery, fucked up childhoods, trauma. I watch you on stage and there's such a cheerfulness to what you do. I mean, it's like it's almost like this conspiratorial thing where you're laughing with the audience, and
Yeah, because I never wanted to be, and I know there's a lot of comedy, and it's like, okay, so this is super stupid, right? But I remember somebody saying this, and I can't remember who said it, but they were saying like there's a lot of comics like George Carlin or Robin Williams who were like deeply depressed and deeply saddened, right? And then there's people like Eddie Murphy who always like you see all of his stand-up is from a happy, cool
yeah,
place. Like he's never, even when he's talking about his drunk dad, he's not like, oh, woe is me. Like everything is funny to him. And I always wanted every like to sound like everything is funny to me. Like, does that make sense? Like,
Oh
I
yeah.
didn't want to be too heavy. Like, cause I love Dave Chappelle, but it's obvious that there's like a lot of issues and like stuff that he thinks about and writes out. He's just able to make a joke about it. I just always wanted to be in a good mood when I'm writing jokes, or I don't know why, because I just figure I don't want to spend my whole career being depressed. Like, like I don't want to have to be depressed to be a good comic.
So
Then,
Was Eddie Murphy one of those people who kind of lit the spark for you? Like you saw him on stage and said, oh, I think that's what I want to do.
yeah, that I saw it. Well, I always liked Eddie Murphy, and I used to love it that he made fun of my dad, and I thought he was really funny.
I didn't even
But
piece
I
that
for
together.
re-
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
but I always I thought it was like a man thing. I thought like men did it for real. And like every time I seen a
Mhm.
woman do it, I thought like I just remember seeing like Paula Poundstone on some like comedy, and I was like, she's not funny to me. And then I saw like some other comics, and it's like Rita Rudner, and I just and it was another Grace from Grace Under Fire. Like I remember seeing this like female comic show like on HBO, and I just hated it. And then I saw Roseanne once, and like Roseanne changed my. It's like
Hmm.
no female comic I'd ever heard talk like that. Like she'd say stuff like "suck my dick," and she talked about fucking her husband, and I was like, oh my god, like, because that's how my mom talks, and that's how she jokes, and so it was like, I was like, man, I've never heard like a woman talk like that on stage, like. And I know there was other comics before her who were like dirty or who said dirty things, but she said it with such like emphasis. And then so I always like I wanted to be Roseanne pretty much when I like that was the person that lit this spark. Like she looked comfortable on stage. Like she's like fat and she's just got like a button down shirt on and like she just is super honest, super straightforward. Like now she's crazy. Now she's batshit crazy with a macadamia nut farm, but like then, like prior to her getting the show, I thought she was the greatest person I ever seen on stage. Like,
And you hit on it. I mean, being comfortable in your own skin with who you are and the stories
yeah,
you're telling. It's a hard place for a lot of comics to get to, but I
yeah,
think
it
that's a
is.
great inspiration.
Yeah, so she's big for me. I watch her every single night. I had a streak for like 27 years of watching Roseanne every single night
Oh
of
my.
my life. I know. That's disturbing, I know.
But you know, some of the comics we're talking about are storytellers. You are a storyteller on stage.
Yeah,
You're not just punchline, punchline, punchline. I mean, I'm going to use the word conspiratorial again. There's almost like a bringing people into this experience along with you, which I
oh,
appreciate
thank you.
your delivery and the way you construct these stories. And some of the punchlines just cold cock. You're like, oh, but didn't see that one coming. That's fantastic. But
Oh, thank you.
I definitely love your act, and you will be part of this series. It kicks off on Saturday. God, all the dates and days they don't mean anything to me anymore. I don't
They
know.
don't.
I don't know where I am, what day it is.
Do you know all day today? I thought it was Wednesday. I thought it was Wednesday.
Well, here's
Right. I don't know.
I took 3 days
Yeah.
off of work this week. I have no idea where I am or what I'm doing right now. It's Thursday, which is great news, but like you,
Right.
I kind of thought it was Wednesday for a big chunk of today.
Right.
The point I'm trying to make is Saturday,
hmm
you are performing
hmm
as part of this awesome virtual comedy series that Zanies is doing. I keep coming back to this thought or concept during the pandemic. I love to see, in spite of this shit hand we've all been dealt with the pandemic, I like seeing creatives and the creative community finding new ways to do old things. Yeah.
Right.
Is it perfect doing something virtually instead of being in a sweaty club, 2 drink minimum, people on top of each other laughing? No, but
No.
this is the way we have to do it now, and we're gonna make it awesome.
Right.
And I think this
Yes.
is really cool.
Yes. It is. It is very cool. It is also. I'm very nervous about it too, to be honest with you, and not because of the show. If I had been doing it, it's just like, obviously every show was canceled at the beginning of the pandemic, and then they started coming back in the summertime. So I felt like I was kind of getting my rhythm back on
Yeah.
stage, and like I'd written a ton of material, which it's very hard to test out material like at a Zoom show, because
Yeah.
everyone's like, "Yay!" It's just like I don't know if that was funny or not. But so I was feeling better about my material. Then everything shut down again in October, and so it's like I've been on stage probably like twice since October, and so it's like I'm honest to God, like nervous about just like you kind of, because you want to find that rhythm relatively
Yeah.
quickly. You don't want to be like, oh, the first 5 minutes of her set was awful, but she kind of got it.
Yeah, it took her a while. We finally got there. Yeah, I laughed a little bit.
I know
Get it.
it's just like I don't want that, but
Yeah, no,
it's
we
kind of
all, everyone in the creative community needs that momentum, that
right.
constant movement and carrying things forward, and it's hard to get there. I appreciate the fact that you are nervous. You're gonna be awesome.
No, don't say. That's what I worry about. I mean, I just yeah, I always try to be like, I just want to make people laugh. I just hope one thing makes someone giggle and forget about whatever they're going through, whatever shitty day that they're having.
Okay, here's the thing. You've been making me laugh and you're not doing your act. So you actually, if you're actually doing your act, I think you'll be fine. No
But see,
worries.
you have to laugh. We're
I
one
don't
on
have to
one.
laugh. There's nothing worse than a radio or podcast host who has an ingenuous laugh. Like, oh, that's the fucking worst. It is so solicitous and it's
Right.
smarmy no, I'm legitimately amused and I appreciate
Okay.
you. All
Oh,
right.
thank you.
So Erica Nicole Clark, the Laugh More virtual comedy series. It is happening on Saturday, January 23rd. We're recording this on Thursday, January 21st. This is just to set this information in my head moving forward. Tickets are $10. The show time is 8:00 p.m. Central. But if you're watching in Istanbul or Belize Central Time, you can watch from anywhere. 8:00, $25 for VIP access. It is so exciting. We don't even know what it is, but I'm sure it involves some sort of access to the performers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's VIP.
Right. I would hope so. Right. Yes.
Do you think back in the day when your dad and Hulk Hogan were rolling VIP, like it was just like Sodom and Gomorrah?
Probably. It's weird though because it's like I don't know. I saw them as like two people. They acted like two like long lost brothers when we saw them, but it's like right. I don't know how they're acting when me and my sister and my mom are gone. They're probably like strippers and cocaine and all sorts of shit going on. But yeah, because it's weird. They're still friends now, and I couldn't even imagine what they talk about.
It sounds to me like this was a tremendous missed opportunity for a buddy comedy with the two of
I
them.
know. Right, Hulk and T. Yeah.
He's the tough as nails Chicagoan. He's the bleach blonde Californian. Different worlds, but they come together to fight crime.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but because they have the same agent. Yeah, they're very close.
All right. So Erica Nicole Clark, you're very funny. We're going to see you at the Zanies thing. Thank you so much for doing yet another Zoom today.
No problem. I look forward to all the Zooms I have. I hope to see you or not see you, but I hope you buy a ticket on Saturday.
You hope the name
come
pops
on
up under
down.
participants. See the name roll in.
I'll just click on, see the chat. And you're like, oh
Microphone
my
muted.
God, she's terrible. Oh.
Yeah. This sucks. I'm rewatching Tiger King. All right. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much. I had such a good time.